Oh, look at this. We're all back. We're live. We're all back. We made it. We did it. We enjoyed a bye week. I haven't been here for a month, except for to do a glorious underdog read last week. Today, what are we doing? We're answering the most important questions everybody gave us about the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
Possibly
the
ever.
top ones. The burning questions.
Yeah.
Where's Will?
Okay. Will is not here today.
Yeah, leave it in mystery. I like that.
Will is traveling to a secret location. Will had he had to go to court ordered appointment with the law. Will breaks the law a lot, is what I'm saying. He's a criminal. He should be investigated.
Outlaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, catch us lighting up cigars after this episode.
Yeah. What I wanted to say is I'm happy to be back with everybody here. I have missed you guys. And anybody watching on my channel who hasn't checked out the Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel, please go sub over there. They got Broncos videos, pods. They got shit all week long with Broncos stuff. So just go check it out. And before we answer everybody's questions, how confident are you guys that if the Broncos beat the Bills on Monday Night Football, they are officially back in the mix as a legit football team? No more punching bag, no more bottom-feeding jokes, that they have a chance to be in the playoff conversation.
The playoff conversation pushes that a little bit too far for me, but I'm going to say they're rounding that corner. It's slowly, it's quietly. They beat the Bills. I think it's a pretty good sign that things are in the right direction. So I'd like to see it happen. I wouldn't complain. Playoffs would be pretty crazy, though.
Yeah. I think that this is the biggest game of the year. I mean, if you're looking for the Broncos to make a playoff push, I think I just did a video on this the other day, so I have the notes pulled up, and I mean, you kind of have to mark at the Lions a loss, right? Let's say the Broncos have to finish at 9 wins, so that's 6-3 left to finish the season. I don't think you can lose to the Bills and the Lions and finish the rest of the schedule 6-1. So this would be the biggest win or the biggest game of the year. Now, if the Broncos do pull this off, I mean, that they're not going to have to beat any tougher teams. They could lose to the Lions and feel fine. If they win the games they should through the rest of the season, they have a really good shot at the playoffs. So yeah, I actually do think this game is massive, and it's off a bye, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't. Is historically, is he good off of buys? Old Shawnee Payton? Do we know? Zach, you're muted.
He started off his career incredibly shaky, but I think over his last 13, he's 10-3. So absolutely tremendous coaching job. Post bye from him. He said he got some advice from Andy Reid on it, and ever since that advice is kind of when he's turned the corner. Andy Reid, of course, being great post bye. I'm not sure if they've turned the corner yet. I think this week is going to really tell us a lot about this team. The Chiefs win was awesome. Something this franchise needed for close to a decade. Glad they finally got it. That said, they did win the turnover differential like 5-1, and we know how turnovers swing games. So many of their touchdowns came on short fields. You have the Chicago win where they come back from down huge. Justin Fields suffers a throwing arm injury late in the game, and they secure that victory. And then they narrowly beat the Packers by 2. They're playing a lot better, but I want to see something a little more sustainable before I go as strong as they're back. I think the Packers win is their most replicable of the season so far. I want to see a little more substance to it. If they beat the Bills, they're back. I'll start feeling pretty good about it, but
it's all about that QB play, ain't it? One more. It's, to me, from when the Dolphins beat them, and I thought everything on this team is wrong, to right now, I believe that we are going to go wherever Russell Wilson can take the team.
Yeah.
And that's a big improvement from where we were, because it wasn't just like, and before that, Russ was playing a little bit better. And now it feels like he's playing a little bit worse. It felt like the whole team was bad. And it feels like the coaching is gelling. Offensive line has been good. Defense got healthy. They look a lot better. The skill positions have been better. Now it's just like Russ just needs to elevate his game a little bit, and they can win all of those games you're talking about, Joey. Has anybody done the math to see where they would rank statistically if we just fucking get rid of that stupid Dolphins game? Because they're like still last in defense here and there, and it's just like, man, 700 of those yards came from one game. So
yeah, I think on defense they're almost middle of the pack, if I'm not mistaken. It's really not that bad when you take that game out of it. I mean, it's a massive outlier. Now that doesn't take away. So like the Commanders, they still dropped a ton of points on us. The Raiders controlled the clock the entire first game. Now, but here's the thing. They've gotten a lot better since then. Like when you look at the last two games in particular, the Broncos defense just looks better. They have different guys in there. PJ Locke is starting. Jaquan McMillian has been awesome at nickel. They have different players in there, and you kind of are
calling him McMillian.
Yeah, I'm calling him McMillian. That's the nickname.
Yeah, that is a nice nickname for him.
That's the nickname, right?
But continue. I didn't mean to fuck you up there.
Oh no, it's all good. Like, yeah, that's all I had to say. You got it right there. You cut it off the nickname. I like it.
Juan McMillian. Hell yeah.
Since the that Dolphins game, they are 19th overall as a defense in terms of EPA per play. So that's a nice little metric over their last 3 games. So that would be the 2 Chiefs games and the Packers game, where I think we really saw some good defensive improvement. They're 20th. So, since about week 3, that's kind of where they're settling into, which is huge. I think that's what we were saying the first 4 weeks of the season is, hey, this offense is playing pretty mediocre. If the defense can at least return to respectability, they're going to be in the mix of a lot of these games.
Joey, to your point, was it a talent turnover on the roster specifically, or do you think there was a synergy within coaching, coming to an agreement with what your players are being asked to do? Is it both sides of the coin there for the defense?
Yes. I think, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of this situation is, okay, so at the beginning we had Vance Joseph trying to coach Vic Fangio stuff, and now it feels more of, it's more of a mixture. It's not just Vance Joseph trying to teach another coach's scheme. Like, at least he's out there trying to do some of his own stuff. Since he started doing that, they've been playing better. And then I also think, like I said earlier, the players that have got in are playing better than guys. Like, here's an example: Asang Bassey was starting at the beginning of the year. He's not even on the team anymore. like we have these type of things going on. And Baron Browning, he's been a massive addition for this Broncos defense. I think it's a mix of things, but I do think the Broncos are more of the 20th ranked defense than they are the worst defense in the NFL. I think that's to be true.
Cool. They might even be a little bit better than 20th, and we'll find out against Buffalo for sure. It's in prime time, so that makes me scared, because I feel like over the last few years, every time I start to see some things with the Broncos that, it's like only Broncos fans are really noticing and paying attention to, it's because they're happening in morning or afternoon games, and then they go in prime time and just get freaking embarrassed. So as long as they don't do that, and Buffalo's in a desperate spot too, so that's a little scary. But I feel more optimistic than I have for probably since they signed Russell Wilson, which is good. Right. All right, let's answer some of these very important, earth-changing questions, life-altering, universally shake it up questions.
I think there's some important ones in here, but I wanted to give credit to Mile High Tuna, who went ahead and asked this question over on Twitter. Have the Broncos turn the corner? Are you waiting to see what happens on Monday? We just discussed that here with Let's Talk Good Broncos. Thank you, Perna. You did a fantastic job setting that up.
Mine melded it. I didn't even know that was a question.
You completely you turned the corner on the show. It's been saved.
Who wrote that?
Mile High Tuna.
Mile High
My
Tuna.
favorite part of this, and we've got some good ones
we
coming up,
complete each
is
other.
making Bree read the weird Twitter usernames. That's my favorite part of the mailbag show. We've
Oh,
got some
nice.
good ones coming up. I'm
Nice,
excited.
nice.
Can't wait. And I think we're building Vance Joseph a statue. Frankie asks, who's your personal build a statue Bronco of the last decade? A coach or a player who maybe didn't get the love from the fan base, but always had a special place in your heart. Guys, anybody come to mind that you think doesn't get the accolades or the representation that they deserve?
No, because everyone that I want to build a statue for gets that love. Like,
I still think we need a Steve Atwater statue. I don't care if he's in the Hall of Fame. I don't care if he gets idolized everywhere. I still think that he needs like a big bronze statue out there in front of Mile High. I think it would be really impactful.
I don't think the question is literally who should they build a statue to, because I think only Pat Bullen has one outside the building. I think it's like, who is your guy you're standing on the table for that the fan base as a whole has been too low on?
If I want to build a fucking literal statue, Zach, I'm going to build a literal statue.
You weren't the one that was a stick in the mud. It was Joey. Now you're taking it too literally. My goodness, the both of you. I think the one I'm looking at would be one of the, honestly, any of the Nickelbacks, like Chris Harris Jr. I think it's whack. Broncos fans are still mad at him for like, I really don't think he did anything all that transgressive.
To take less money to play for the Chargers? Is that what they're upset about?
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
No, yeah, Chris Harris he's great. He's probably
like, you don't win Super Bowl 50 without that guy. Well, I don't know. Who cares?
No, he's maybe the second or third best corner the Broncos ever had. You got Champ, right?
And you got Champ, BX too.
Yeah, Patrick Surtain, Chris Harris, probably. I mean, and then
Talib, and Pat's he's got to get the years in, and then Talib's in there. But, okay, I like Chris Harris.
Yeah, like Chris Harris, I think Bryce Callahan, and then I mean, his run in Denver isn't over yet, but K'Wan Williams, I think is a guy. I'm answering the heart of this question. I'm not literally building the statue of these guys. These are all players that didn't get the love from the fan base, but have held a special place in my heart. They're tremendous players. I think they've consistently been some of the best players on the Broncos defense in that position, and that nickel cornerback position is often too far overlooked. Or too often overlooked.
I'm going with Clinton Portis because he had 2 seasons as a Bronco where he was a Pro Bowler, and then also he was traded for a guy that's a Hall of Famer. That's the one I'm going with.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I could live with that statue just because of what ended up happening after he left, what he was dealt for, and then even what he brought when he was a Bronco. I think people forget how good he was. Like at the time, it wasn't consensus that the Broncos won that trade. It was Clinton Portis for Champ Bailey, and Clinton Portis was already an all-pro running back and leading the league in rushing multiple times. He was an awesome running back. So maybe someone we forget about there. Another option, I would say Ryan Clady was the best left tackle in a really long time for the Broncos, and was a guy that was the best left tackle in the league before his injuries. One of my biggest Broncos what ifs always is, what if Ryan Clady never got hurt? Because I think the Broncos have the best left tackle in the league for like 12 years.
Wow. Mine is always, what if John Elway drafted Russell Wilson instead of Brock Osweiler? Now we kind of know.
Exactly.
This question is. Sorry, go ahead.
You would have been the ones benefiting from the trade. Goodness, sorry, Brandon.
Well, maybe, but you got to think like, if they draft Russell Wilson, then the Broncos probably win the Super Bowl in 2013 because they're not playing the Seahawks. But then when Peyton Manning gets hurt in 2015, I think Russell Wilson takes over and we never see Peyton Manning again. So Manning still gets his Super Bowl, but he doesn't get the second. I've thought about this a lot, guys.
I like the timeline mapped out.
But
I don't like that reality.
This question is a paradox because it can't be a build a statue guy and an under the radar guy, right? Like those are two things. Yeah. I'll say a guy who probably people forget about that was really important. 2015 was Evan Mathis on the Broncos offensive line. As a late ad at guard, He played the whole season with a terrible hamstring injury, was consistently one of the best linemen on that line, that they had to keep shuffling right tackle with injuries until I think it was Columbus that filled in late in the season when they finally went on the run there. But like, I think what Evan Mathis did, Manning also having like a guy on the line like him, I think was huge. And even him and Matt Paradis, probably a little underrated on that line together.
You're right.
But
it's a great pick.
I think it's last decade, not under the radar guy. It's just got to be Vaughn. Like outside of Peyton Manning, Vaughn's been the most important player on the Broncos. He's a guy you could actually build a statue of, and people I think would love it. He should be a Bronco right now. We shouldn't be worrying about playing him on Monday night, but you know, it'd be Vaughn for me.
All right. I like the love for the offensive line. I like Von Miller. Can't believe I didn't come up with that one. I super appreciate it. I just want to point out the chat's going crazy about Tebow. I think it's honestly just one commenter over and over again. So Tebow needs his statue moment. Not a literal one. Zach, calm down. You don't have to repeat it. Jolene says, what about CJ Anderson or Demarius Thomas? I like the throw out there.
I almost said CJ. He's a good underrated one. Like, you know, looking back at the best Broncos backs of the best decade, he's definitely in the convo. He was a big part of winning that Super Bowl as well. So shout out him. And then DT, of course, with arguably best receiver in franchise history. For my money, the best receiver in franchise history. And then also the whole sentimental aspect. I would totally support a DT statue.
I'll die on this. He has not slipped. He's just getting healthy, Jim. He's coming back for an ACL. Give him some time.
God,
and
it's
now
a big injury.
You said this, and now he's going to have his I'm back game, and it's going to be against the Broncos, Jim.
I know. What a comment right before you play Mike McGlinchey. What a comment.
Ouch. Well, okay, Joey, if you want to go there, let's go to the question. Jolene, who's in the chat right now, said on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being snoozing and 10 being panic attack, someone get the panic buzzer ready. How worried are you about Von Miller and McGlinchey, the matchup, Monday Night Football? I'm going to go probably a 6 or a 7, but we don't know what Von Miller's going to come back as, so maybe a little bit higher than that.
At a fucking 10 because of Jim now. 10, Jim.
Yeah. Vaughn's going to have to prove me wrong. I don't care how he started. The guy's going to have to prove me wrong, especially him coming back to play Denver. And I'm always that guy where it's like everyone's revenge game is against the Broncos. I don't care who we let go. If Brett Rippon was starting for another team, it's the Brett Rippon revenge game against the Broncos. So, yeah. It's the Von Miller revenge game against the Broncos.
Have the most former players scattered across the league because it feels like we do.
It does. It does.
He did, Jim. That's literally the only tackle I really remember ever seeing Von miss. So
right now you have people ganging up on Jim in the chat. Sorry, Jim.
Well, Jim brought it upon himself.
I could not be I don't know. I won't say I couldn't be less worried. I couldn't be less worried about Von Miller. This is maybe he's just coming back from injury. This is by far the least impressive version of we've seen of Von Miller. He has played 5 weeks of football. He has tallied 3 pressures. That means like a 60% chance he tallies a single pressure this week. Mike McGlinchey deserves all the junk he's getting. Look at the other right tackles in the league. It's not like Vaughn was going up against 5 All-Pros and now gets to play Mike McGlinchey. 3 pressures, 5 weeks. How terrified am I of that player? Not very. Name him Von Miller, name him J.J. Watt. I'm not scared.
Well, if Jim did it, Zach Seegers definitely just did it. Right there. I mean, I'm expecting a 4-sack game from Von Miller after that, right there. That was unbelievable.
Should I go get my sage? Should I start burning it right now or later? I don't know. Live on stream could be good.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, he's less than a year removed from his ACL injury, and he's – how old is Von? 30 –
He's older. I think he's probably like 32.
Valid reasons to no longer be a super impactful pass rusher. You know,
like right now,
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, Vaughn might not be good for the rest of the season. You might be right about that, and it might not have anything to do with his ability left. It might just be like him trusting his knee. Like even like, okay, Javonte got back early. It's taken him a while to start looking like Javonte. Breece Hall looked amazing in that first game back for the Jets, but it's been, I think, a little bit tough for the sustained success when you come back from it. And we have these unrealistic expectations of guys returning from injuries that really do take a year to fully heal and to fully feel comfortable. I call it the Adrian Peterson, standard, and nobody's really going to ever hit that again, I don't think.
Right.
And
on top of that, Von is not 32; he's 34.
Yeah.
He's definitely getting up there. Now, if I will to push back just a little bit, Von even last year at 33 was unbelievable before he got hurt.
Yeah,
at 32 he was unbelievable before he
and then a huge thing happened, and then he tore his ACL. I mean, yes, he was awesome last year before he got injured, and then he suffered one of the very worst injuries a player can suffer in football. That's huge. I mean, that's a huge but moment. And he was great before the ACL. No doubt
disagree.
there. I think he could
not
still
the worst injury.
Be great in his career. It's I think one of them. 3 pressures in 5 games. Jonathan Harris, since week 5, the same week Von Miller came back, has only played 4 games and has 5 pressures. Jonathan Harris. I mean, I'm not worried.
Brandon, were you referencing your ankle?
Obliterated penis, Zach. That is actually the worst injury you could suffer out there. And they tried to do it to Jerry Jeudy a couple weeks ago, and I'm still upset about
it. Yeah, they did do that.
Speaking of, hey, everybody, Underdog Fantasy is not going to smash your nuts, okay? You just sign up with our code Let's Ride. Got a QR code over there. You know, I'm going to send Russell Wilson a letter and ask him to bring back Let's Ride since it's our code. And now that he refuses to say it, it's losing some of its power. Just would like Russell to start saying it again. And the fact that he hasn't is a little disappointing as a Broncos fan. How do you guys feel? Do you miss Let's Ride a little bit? A little bit?
He should bring it back when it's going good. Like if they beat the Bills on Monday Night Football, like I don't know, cower and hit us with the Go Broncos. Hit us with the Let's Ride. I mean, savor
unless they're making a convincing playoff push and they're annihilating teams, I never want to hear Let's Ride again. Like it's way under for me.
Now that it's gone, I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
Don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe you have $5. Maybe it won't be gone after you deposit it in Underdog Fantasy and play the Battle Royale, which I've been playing because I've been so bad at my pick'ems. $5 entry, $250K in prizes. It's a 6-player pool, super easy to do. You're playing against the whole field, all right? So you're not just drafting against the people you're not just playing against the people you're drafting against. You got to think about playing against everyone. This is a fun week because there's a lot of really tough matchups. So I think some of your impact players are going to be available down here later. I'm going to do a bunch more of these, but if you want to play some fantasy, do it with Underdog this season or just don't do it at all. That's what I say. There's our disclaimer. You've been disclaimed. All right, next question, Bree.
Let's roll. I'm going to go to USMC Sniper asked, what are your guys' top 5 favorite wins as a Broncos fan? And what are your guys' top 5 top 5 worst losses you guys have ever experienced as a Broncos fan? I'm going to ask you to throw out one apiece. Top 5 is ridiculous. We'll go top 4 because Will's missing. Where in the world is Will Keys? Joey.
Okay. Okay. My top victory is obviously the Super Bowl win. I mean, I'm just going to steal that right off the top.
Which one? We have so many.
Joey and I have only been alive for one, or at least conscious for one. So
wait, when were you guys born?
Don't ask. It'll hurt.
Oh, and he's 98, but he was
98.
What, like 5 months old when they won the second one. So you don't have any memory of that.
No, my favorite one was definitely
the Falcons win.
I loved that. It was the best one. It was amazing. No, I'm going with Super Bowl 50. Cam Newton, Von Miller. Von Miller, my favorite player of all time. Playing a really high-powered team in the Carolina Panthers, and that defense just showing that they're one of the best defenses of all time. I have to go with that. Worst loss was definitely the Ravens. Playoffs. And then Raheem the Dream Moore jumping way too early. And Jacoby, what was his name? I'm forgetting the wide receiver's name. Wasn't it Jacoby Jones? Yes. I was about to say Jacoby Ford. Jacoby Jones catching the ball over him. Broncos lose to the Joe Flacco Ravens in the playoffs, and I think that was the best Broncos team I saw. I think that team was even better than their Super Bowl 50 team. So that is the worst loss.
Yeah. Those would both be my picks. I think for our era, Joey, those have to be the worst. Because it was like you kind of, I don't know, you were a young kid, a little post Jake Plummer, and you had that playoff drought, and then you had the Tebow thing, which always felt a little Cinderella-y, as fun as it was. And then 2012, it was like, oh my God, it's finally happening, and then it was all ripped away so very fast. I think my pick, because you already took, I'll say favorite win, that Tebow win against the Steelers. I don't think anyone thought that was going to happen. And when you have DT streaking down the sidelines, that's an all-time Broncos play in franchise history. That's got to be like a top 10 play in franchise history. And yeah, they got demolished, absolutely detonated by the Patriots the next week. But who cares? That was an unbelievable moment in time, kind of the epitome of such a fun little run. Most painful, I'll go. You know what? It was in the Super Bowl year, but that Chiefs one jumps out at me. That Chiefs loss, where Peyton Manning sets the passing yardage record, where it was like supposed to be, I think, kind of this great moment, and it was instead just miserable. Like Peyton Manning, they stop the game and he gets the ball or whatever, and you see that he just wants to like stab his own eyes out. He's in so much misery that he has to like celebrate this moment where he's like 1 for 6 for 6 yards and 2 interceptions.
That was a terrible game from Peyton Manning. That was the most. Yeah, that was just not a good game to go to. No, I don't even remember him breaking the record in that game, but I was there.
Yeah, you need to be on TV to really remember it, or watching the TV, because they made a whole thing of it, and it was just like, why are we doing this right now? Best win, just beating the Chiefs a week ago. That was our Super Bowl. That will be our Super Bowl. Technically, it counts as a Super Bowl win as far as I'm concerned. It gives us a Super Bowl over the Chiefs. That win was so needed. It was so vindicating. It's the best I've felt about a Broncos win since I literally don't know, except for Super Bowl 50, right? I haven't felt that good about a win. So I'll go with that last game. Worst? Ugh. You guys kind of took the good one there. I mean, the Seahawks Super Bowl 48 was pretty bad.
That's the one I was going to go with.
But I think that when the Raiders beat the shit out of us when we had Josh McDaniels, and they were up like 30-something at halftime, that was embarrassing. And that's when we're like, oh God. It is a different era, because Mike Shanahan was gone. Josh McDaniels came in. They got those 6 wins or whatever, and then stuff kind of went off the rails. But like that game was like, okay, this guy ain't it. This guy ain't it.
Was that the game Darren McFadden ran for like it felt 300 yards against the Broncos? Yeah,
I was in attendance, and I was sitting in the south stands. I was like, what, 9, 10, and there was
oh my God.
Drunk Raiders fan sitting right by us, and he was yelling the whole game like, that's right, everybody, Jamarcus Russell, Darren McFadden, the AFC West is ours now, it's ours again, for like 3 hours straight, which now is hilarious, but at the time when they were losing like 59-14 was one of the worst moments of my entire life.
Zach was like, he's right. That was devastating.
It's going to be Super Bowl 48 and Super Bowl 50 for me. They just run in contention with each other. But the AFC win over the Patriots, that was a good game. And no, what Zach is going to bring up, to my chagrin, is that I was laying there in the snow crying my eyes out because Tom Brady lost, and that's just not true. So I just want to clear the air there. I was celebrating the Broncos that day.
Photographic evidence says otherwise.
Yeah, I was at that Patriots game, the snow game. So that's up there too. But that game was so cold, and being
It
there
was
is kind
freezing.
of I wish it wasn't so cold. I might have enjoyed it just a little more.
Did we get orange mustaches that game?
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
it was the orange mustache game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
Talk about CJ Anderson, man. Oh, what a guy!
What a guy! What a dude!
Dude's talking about a guy.
What a dude. I'm going to move on questions. Gorilla God 420. Let's go. Is Russell Wilson actually washed, or is there still room for saving the former Seahawks QB? You know, I think we've seen the most improved Russell Wilson that we've seen the first couple of games. I'm not going to. Do I think that he cannot come back from where he's fallen? No, not necessarily. I think he's gotten better this season. I don't think you're going to see a return to form. I feel like I'm echoing, so sorry about that. You're going to see a return to form of Russell Wilson. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to see 2013 Russell Wilson. This is a much different QB. I don't think he's washed is such a weird definition. It's like calling someone soft. What do you mean by that? I don't think that he's going to get a whole lot better than what he's currently outputting as far as efficiency goes. I don't care what the stats say. He's not reading the field real well, but I think that he can continue to improve under Sean Payton. But what direction does that actually lead the Denver Broncos? Joey, I see you a little, I don't know, barefaced about it. Tell me how you feel about Russell Wilson.
I think the days of the Seattle Russell Wilson are over, but that's okay because Russell Wilson then was probably a top 5 quarterback, at least a top 8 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think the Broncos are going to be seeing that. I don't think the Broncos will see that because as he's aged, you just have that natural decline. He's just not that same athlete he was. But with that being said, can the Broncos win if Russell Wilson is playing around, I don't know, the 14th, 13th best quarterback in the NFL while your defense is playing good? I think that's possible. I think if the Broncos had the 13th best quarterback last year, they're in the playoffs with the defense that they had. I do think that you can win with that type of quarterback, especially, the Broncos run game has looked awesome this year. Keep running the football. You saw it against the Chiefs. They bullied them. They limited what Russell Wilson was really doing out there, and they found a way to win in other ways. So I do think the Broncos can win with Russell Wilson still, but those days of Seattle, let Russ cook days, those might be done.
Not even might. I think it is, unless we see dramatic changes, and he's frankly still not overall, but I think in terms of like what we might be seeing in terms of age-based decline, he's still heading in the wrong direction. Russell Wilson has always had some very obvious limitations to his game, and he's balanced those out with unbelievable, like superpower, heroic strengths. I think those being his accuracy and his escapability, really, I think are the top two. I think the accuracy is still there. The escapability is not. And that is a huge problem because what are those limitations? Well, he can't really, because of his height, he can't really see the short to intermediate part of the field or the center of the field. So, quick passes happen in that short to intermediate part of the field. So he's holding on to the ball for longer. How did he used to mitigate that in the past? By running around in crazy loop-de-loops and no one could tackle him. And then he throws a crazy play to Luke Wilson in the end zone and boom, we're going to the Super Bowl over the Green Bay Packers. That's not happening anymore. The other nice thing that allowed him to do breaking the pocket is it changed his viewing angles, specifically of the middle of the field. If you drop back behind your offensive line, what's blocking the middle of the field? Your offensive line. If you escape the pocket, that's not blocking your view anymore. Russ can't live that way as much anymore, and it's seen in all of the pressure data. He is turning pressures into sacks at one of the highest rates of his career. The two of the top three highest are 2022 and 2023. He is responsible for his own pressures and his own sacks at the highest rate of any quarterback in the league and of any year of Russell Wilson's entire career. It's bad. This Broncos team is allowing the 8th fewest pressures. They're holding up for at least 2.5 seconds, the 7th most out of any offensive line in the NFL. They are a very good pass protecting offensive line, yet their quarterback is the 3rd most sacked. Why is that? It's the quarterback.
He hates, I feel like, to climb the pocket. Does it every now and then, and I think he can do it. It's just like he doesn't trust himself to step into that and find the middle of the field there. And you say like maybe he's too short to see it. I think that's a bit of a cop out because we watched Drew Brees fucking do it for 20 years or however long he was there. And they're essentially the same height. Maybe an inch difference? Maybe. It's just like, I think if he could just mimic that part of Drew's game, but I think it's hard to unteach your instinct that has worked for you for so long.
Right.
And I feel like Russell has tried to make an effort to do those things, and it felt like he kind of tried to do it too much last year with Hackett, and it didn't work. I don't know. But this year, the last couple games specifically, it feels everything you just said, those data points, Zach, it's like what you're watching. You're like, oh my God, this sack is on Russ. This play not working is on Russ. Luckily he had the 3 touchdown passes, but it was just 12 completions. And he gets now he's getting like the national narrative pass because he'll have those good stats. It's why like we can watch a game where he doesn't have good stats, but like he kind of played pretty decent, like he was doing early in the season. And now he's playing worse, but the Broncos won a couple games. So like, yeah, Russ is good again. It's like flip-flop.
I love EPA. You can track the impact of individual plays, and we've got over 20 years of data to use EPA with. The average damage caused by an interception, how much points you're losing on the average interception, is about 3 times that of a sack. So yes, it's great he's not throwing interceptions, but taking all these sacks is a problem because every 3 sacks is roughly as damaging as an interception. They are really harmful. I think the average damage of a sack is like -1 point. You can by that in terms of what teams have been hurt the most by their quarterback sacks, in terms of when they're being taken, what part of the field. Is it on 3rd down? Is it on 1st down? Because 3rd down is a drive killer. No one is hurting there's 3 quarterbacks hurting their teams more on sacks. It's Bryce Young, Zach Wilson,
Sam Howell,
and some other bad quarterback.
Gotta be Sam Howell.
It is Sam Howell. Yes, it's obviously Sam Howell. Thank you.
Howell.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
He's catching strays for no reason. You guys good with the Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Haters.
I don't hate him. I just hate the way he plays sometimes.
You just got to be honest sometimes, man. It's not
actually
easy to digest.
Until he brings back Let's Ride, I do hate him. So
is that what's the cornerstone piece for you? Is if you start saying "Let's ride" again, you're just gonna.
I think it takes a lot of courage to keep doing the thing that you got memed for the most. You know,
right?
I think just own it. I say that's like the only words he says from now on are "Let's ride." If he did an entire press conference where the only 2 words he said were "Let's ride,"
yeah.
Do the
what do you think about that interception there, Russ? Let's ride.
Let's ride. David Hurlblood asks, why the hell weren't there any more trades before the deadline? This isn't a top tier team. They needed more draft capital. Joey, as the draft master, how do you feel about the lack of capital for the Denver Broncos without making any trades?
Hey, you deal with it. I think everyone is enjoying Sean Payton right now. So you had to give up a 2nd round pick and all these different things involved with that. And I would do it over again from what I've seen from Sean Payton, what he's doing with this offense. So hey, you deal with it. But the lack of trades, what it really points to is the Broncos think they're a playoff contender. I think that if they didn't think that, they probably would have made these trades. Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, those rumors have been going on since this offseason, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but also this offseason, the Broncos made an offer to Alan Lazard. Thank God they didn't, because he's really playing bad for the Jets right now. But then they made an offer to Adam Thielen. And those both indicate that both those players were available this offseason to me. Now something's changed between then and here, and I'm pretty sure that is because they think they're a playoff team. They don't want to sell their assets. They think they want to push for a playoff spot. And that's kind of what I make of it. Would I have made trades? I probably would have, just because I don't know if it's the smartest practice to evaluate your whole season off of one win, although I did love that Chiefs game. But at the end of the day, I do also think that if the Broncos can pull this Bills game off, their likelihood of making the playoffs makes a lot more sense. It's just beating the Bills, and that seems like a tall task to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think it's necessarily we think we're going to be in the playoffs. I just think it's very difficult to do, and I also think it was a buyer's market. You know, you have Chase Young, who was having one of the best seasons of his NFL career, former top 2 draft pick. Like, yes, there's been injury problems, but he goes for a compensatory third, which is probably what Washington would have gotten back for him just walking, you know. Unless you're dealing with Ryan Poles, you're probably not getting great compensation for the players in the trade. You know, maybe like a 5th, 6th for these guys. Like, I asked someone who I think would know with some like actual NFL league experience, what do you think Justin Simmons' market would be? Because I was curious. This is back when they were like 1-5 or whatever. And he said, 5th, 6th round pick. It's always cheaper than we, the fans, think. It's like, oh, you're going to get this great shiny draft pick. And it's like a compensatory 4th or something like that.
What did Philly get for Kevin Byard again? Or give up for Kevin Byard?
A 3rd, I think, which would point to that person's evaluation being wrong. And even if it's a 3rd, that's fine. But it's like, do you want a 3rd round pick over Justin Simmons? I think that point still holds. So I think it was questionable compensation for the players that were on the market, 1, and 2. I mean, Brandon just highlighted that win over the Chiefs is one of the best wins in Broncos history, and the best we've probably maybe all felt about the team since Super Bowl 50. And like, I know he was being tongue in cheek there, but it was a remarkable win. The vibes are immaculate right now. It's hard to. Sean Payton came into this locker room when they were 1-5 and said, hey guys, if we keep the faith, if we keep believing, we can stack wins, and
that sounds like something Tebow would say.
And they, but they go in, they win 2 games back to back, and then you start making moves like you don't believe you can win games. I think that's very hard to sell, especially as you are the first year of this regime. You're trying to set a foundation for the team's culture. I think it's hard to be incongruent in your statements to the entire team like that. So I think, hey, we said this season isn't over. If you guys believe and we start doing the right thing and we can stack wins, you've believed, you've done the right thing. We've stacked some wins. Now we're going to reward it by kind of not selling off parts.
Zach, I'm going to challenge you on just one thing, and that's the best that I felt about the Broncos team was immediately after Super Bowl 50, because the last 8 years has been pretty long. I don't know if I've completely recovered, but I do feel pretty good. We're on the up and up, right? It can only go north from here, I think.
Yeah. I have to. The one thing is Adam Schefter did say that Jeudy was traded for, or that there was an offer for a 3rd and 5th. For Jerry Jeudy, and that seems more than fair for Jerry Jeudy's value so far in this league, to me at least. Brandon, you think he's worth a 2nd or a 1st? You think he's worth a 2nd? Okay. I think somewhere for a 3rd, and the only reason I say that, I'm a huge Jerry Jeudy fan. It's just, he hasn't really shown me he can play a full season, and when he hasn't given me the production that I'm looking for all the way yet. And then also you're paying him more next year because you picked up his 5th-year option. I think a 3rd and 5th would have been fair. Now, I ultimately think that it does just come off of, hey, we're not willing to sell our pieces right now. We're going to have to be blown away.
Yeah, I think Jerry, just based on where the Broncos took him, where he could elevate the team under different quarterback situations versus what you can get for a 3rd and a 5th to try and replace him. I think you need more. It just feels like if he went to a good team, we would have immediately regretted it. I feel like immediately.
I get that aspect too, because there would definitely be the chance of him just doing really well elsewhere. The Broncos, I mean, for how much I don't know, Jerry Jeudy for how much of a bad rap Jerry Jeudy gets, the guy has not had a great situation. Wide receiver is so dependent on that, who's throwing you the football and everything like that. It's the most dependent position on the field, really, and he just really hasn't had that opportunity.
Well, quarterback's most dependent on the center when you really get down to brass tacks.
Fair.
Oh God.
Next question. Do we get?
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. The questions are done. We've crossed them all off. We did it.
All right. Give me a prediction for the game on Monday Night Football.
I'm going Sean Payton off a bye, first time in. I'm going Broncos win. That's my bold prediction. I maybe there's a little emotion involved in here. A little. I want to be right about Sean Payton, maybe involved in here as well. But off a bye, Broncos look good. They're 2-0 rolling into the bye. They have some momentum. Zach said it earlier. In his last 13, he's 10-3 off this bye. The Bills have not looked very good. My bold prediction is just going to be that the Broncos win. I think that's super bold compared to where everyone else is.
Boom.
McMillian makes a case to be paid McMillions when he intercepts Josh Allen. That's my bold prediction.
Ooh. Yeah, Josh Allen will definitely give us an interception. That I'm certain of.
There's only like one national analyst taking the Broncos, and that's why I think you got to ride Broncos. It happened last week. Can he make it 2 weeks in a row? Or, well, 3 weeks in a row. I'm going to go the Broncos win. But I think it's going to be close. And so I'm just trying to figure out the point differential. 24-21.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll be close too.
Yeah.
Von Miller will get his 4 sacks, but halftime happens. He has 0 sacks. Okay. Comes out of the locker room. He's wearing a Denver Broncos jersey. He switched teams at halftime. And then he gets 4 sacks, Jim. Then he gets 4 sacks, Jim. Yeah, Broncos, I think they're going to win. I really do. I think they have the momentum. I think they're confident. I think they're good on special teams. They're good on defense. And they're pretty good on offense. And if they just stick to running the ball, Russell Wilson will do enough to not cost him the game. Even with the sacks. It's pretty good at just keeping them within reach, I think.
Fair.
I like it.
Goose egg for Vaughn.
It's going to be so cool when he switches teams. Remember, who was the Bill that...
Von Miller.
What's his theme music that plays as he runs down the tunnel?
Who's this, Vaughn?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we gonna get a nice video, Bree? That's the real question. Are we gonna get like a good Von Miller video?
Yeah, I'll be.
Yeah.
I'm above the home
stupid?
side, but I'll go to. It is in Buffalo. Yeah. No, you're not stupid.
Buffalo.
Joey's
Setting
me up.
Wow. Buffalo all the way.
Put together a video.
I might just go to Buffalo to get the film content, baby.
All right. Bye.